everyone, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Financial Insight Show. My name is Mwelwa Chibesakunda, and today I have a special guest in the studio. Recently, we had an opportunity of moderating one of the panel discussions at the recently ended Energy Forum. And I had the opportunity of sitting down with heads of various financial institutions. But lo and behold, I also had the privilege to get to ask questions to the Director General of NAPSA, the biggest, or rather the National Pension House. So in our studios today is the Director General, Mr. Muyangwa Muyangwa, who I'll be having a conversation with on matters ranging from his professional background, as well as, issues around the mandate of NAPSA and other more exciting things. So stay tuned for this interview and get to know. I'm your host, Mwelwa, and I'll be sitting down with the DG of NAPSA, Mr. Muyangwa Muyangwa. Mr. Muyangwa Muyangwa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and happy to be in your nice, beautiful studios.
Oh, thank you so much, though. The privilege is always ours, and, we do like to have very candid conversations, and I hope you're going to enjoy this particular one.
I hope so.
Absolutely. No, so let's get straight into it. So, you are the Director General of the largest pension authority in Zambia. Obviously, it's established as an act of parliament and essentially looking after assets for the citizenry of this particular country. But you're a fairly fresh face, a new face on the block. Are you able to tell us a bit about give us a walkthrough about your professional journey, what led you to this particular juncture where you're now DG of NAPSA?
Thank you very much. It all started way back. I think in the choice of the courses you study at uni. So I chose business admin. And after that, upon graduation, I joined Meridian BIO Bank. So we have a few guys who were management trainees under the Meridian BIO Bank. Up to the time it shut down. By that time, we had completed our management training program, and now we're placed in the various branches of Meridian BIO. After it closed down, I joined Zambia Revenue Authority, where I stayed from 1995 to 2011. And in that process, went through two streams of Zambia Revenue Authority. That's a value-added tax side and the customs side. After that, I was taken away, and I joined the International Monetary Fund in the Fiscal Affairs Department, where I worked from 2011 to 2022, and then back home in NAPSA. So I straddle financial sector, fiscal sector, and now somehow in between the pension fund, which is financial, fiscal, whichever way you look at it, but basically that has been my background.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now, obviously for our viewers who really have grappled with understanding what the role of NAPSA is, I think when you talk to the average person on the street, they're saying, okay, NAPSA, or they just collect and pay pensions. Are you able to just explain to us, with clarity, what the mandate of NAPSA is, as well as, how does this, mandate align with the country's broader economic and social goals?
I think it's very key that, first of all, we understand why NAPSA was created. It had its own objectives, why the government thought of moving away from Zambia National Provident Fund to creating, which was a defined contribution scheme, to creating a defined benefit scheme. So NAPSA really is supposed to be the basic scheme that covers all workers, both formal and informal sector. It's your last resort, your fallback. It wasn't meant to be the main provider. It was meant to be the fallback. When everything else is done, you are at least assured that NAPSA is going to pay you your monthly check as a retiree. But there is another key element of our mandate that is not very well understood or maybe pronounced. That is a vehicle for mobilizing national savings to support national development. That part is always not maybe very well played out. And therefore, sometimes you get suspicion when NAPSA is financing certain projects that are deemed to be national projects. Well, for NAPSA, really, that's part of the job that we're supposed to do. Pull together all the savings in the nation, channel them towards areas that are supporting national development. There are other mandates, but they are more internal, like we're supposed to make sure that the scheme has a 40% income replacement in retirement. The others is just operational efficiencies. Make sure the scheme is run properly and that you are able to move with your scheme. For example, if you're a NAPSA employee, a NAPSA member, sorry, your membership, the social security number, you can take it to any scheme within the country. I think we are still, we've done well on the employer side, but the portability across schemes may be a little bit more dicey. But as you can only have one social security number, and you can use it with an employer. Now it's the other side where say, can I actually transfer this to another scheme? That is still, we're still far away from achieving that. But the key that I would like to emphasize today is that NAPSA is the basic scheme for coverage of providing social security to all workers in Zambia, formal and informal, and that it's a vehicle for mobilizing national savings to support national development.
Wonderful. And I mean, obviously, I will come back to that point. But then what I caught from your background, having the opportunity to work in the IMF, this obviously now gives you more of a global sort of outlook on things. One of the things that we at Financial Insight have obviously picked up is that in recent years, the pension funds globally have been seeking to diversify, investment portfolios. What strategies is NAPSA employing to enhance returns on investment whilst managing risk and playing a part in this diversification?
Yeah, so we're looking at diversification from two angles as NAPSA. First of all, what asset classes within the domestic market, and then now we're trying to venture on the offshore to deal with the country risks and make sure that we capitalize on lower risk destinations where we can still get a better return. But within the first point of entry is how can we actually diversify the portfolio that we're holding. I think in most pension funds you find that they are solely in government paper.
Right.
We have, yes, government paper is still a bigger portion of our portfolio, but we have 11 other asset classes, 10 other asset classes that we are in. And that is just to make sure there's proper diversification. We include listed equity, private equity, infrastructure, all those. We have even what we call for social impact. That we are supposed to intervene in certain areas without expecting maybe a return as high as a normal investment, but just to address a social issue. So we haven't done much on the social impact side, but in terms of the diversification, we are moving slowly, trying to whittle down on the amount that we are holding in government paper and start sending it in other areas where there's need to stimulate economic activity. We find ourselves in a situation where it's only us that can feed our own model of expansion. Our business model is very simple. It depends on getting people to get into jobs or to earn income that then allows them to make a saving with us. So the more people that are generating income, the better for the scheme, as long as you can actually bring them into the scheme. So when we intervene in areas where we are triggering employment, we are basically securing our own future as NAPSA, because those are new members coming in and we're able to grow the scheme.
Right, right, and obviously, what's very interesting from what we have been seeing is that NAPSA now is aggressively participating in things like energy projects. There was the big Maamba announcement where we found it quite revealing in terms of participation from the banks, because traditionally many of our local commercial banks cannot invest for a longer period of time. Yes. But then now we're seeing NAPSA come in, which can have a much longer horizon. Why are these infrastructure sort of sectors important for NAPSA, and do you see them yielding the sort of return that that is promised by the pension house?
Yeah, So for us, those investments fit into a mandate of supporting national development. But it's not supporting on a charitable basis. It's actually expecting the returns to hit our benchmark returns. If it doesn't hit our benchmark return, we don't take it on.
Okay.
So all the projects that we've taken in infrastructure, in energy, they apart from being strategic national development issues, they actually have to hit our benchmark returns. Otherwise, they don't pass the criteria and the grade, and we have to put them away. Now, coming back to why those, if you look at what are the key issues that are holding back our economy right now, I think one of them is energy.
Correct.
This energy crisis or deficit is going to have a very telling impact on what our economy looks like on the other side when we come out of it. Obviously, it means we are losing productive years or productivity really for growing our GDP and strengthening the economy, because most of the activities would have either slowed down or actually shut down, scaled down or shut down completely. Now, put it again in the context that we have an ambitious and yet achievable and right thing to do, where we're saying, can we ramp up the production in the mining sector to 3 million metric tons? That requires infrastructure to hold that copper. That requires energy to make sure that the mines are working 24 hours like they always do. So for us, really, first of all, on the national development part, that is an injection we can put in, because we have the capital. Second thing is that spurs the economy to create more jobs. We have an ambition to grow our scheme from a $3.5 billion scheme to a $10 billion scheme within 10 years. And that only grows from smart investment and also making sure that we generate new members.
Okay. Now, I must take you back now to the benchmark. You mentioned a very important benchmark, and for our viewers that really don't understand what that would mean, are you able to walk us through the NAPSA decision making the decision making process when it comes to actually making these investments, and how do you balance the need for returns as well as social responsibility and national development objectives?
So in terms of maybe let me go back to the benchmark first of all. That's the national average savings plus 5%. So we get this the national average savings rate. We get it from the statistics office,
right?
Zamstats. And then we add our 5%. So right now we're hovering around the 15% benchmark.
Okay.
Now, the way we do our investment decisions, we make them. People, we can either call for proposals, or there are certain investment proposals that come through to our desks through other means. They go through the same process after we receive them.
Right.
They go through our investment analysts. They analyze it to make sure that it ticks all the boxes that are required, the checklist of the benchmarks, impact, diversification, all that. Once the investment team has assured itself that this fits into our criteria of portfolio or acceptable investment, then it goes to a management team. The executive management team has to make a decision.
Okay.
So the investment team has to present and justify why we should actually invest in those proposals to the executive management team. Once the executive management team agrees, then it goes to a finance and investment committee of the board. Now, at that point, it's management now presenting to the board, but the finance and investment committee of the board. If it passes that, it goes to the last hurdle, which is the full board, to approve that we can actually make that investment in a particular whatever sector and whatever type of project that we are investing in. So it's quite a rigorous process.
It is.
Most of the people that have gone through it complain that it's they say it's too slow, and it's too stringent because of the demands that we put in to make sure that it's an investment that is going to shield and to protect the member funds. Now, in terms of balancing, one key issue is, first of all, we look out for the members, the owners of the scheme. Correct. They have to get a return to assure us that we can pay them their benefits as and when they arise. So that one, there's no compromise unless we are hitting in the social impact areas. But so far, like I said, we have not really gone into that area. So once we're sure that the members are going to get their funds will be protected. This is a good investment, a good return. Then we now look at other issues of, okay, so from a national development perspective, what's the impact? So there can be two projects. One has minimum impact on national development. It will definitely be subservient to the one that has the greatest impact on national development. So we are at a stage where we need to lay down the foundations of a proper thriving economy. Infrastructure is key. Energy is almost like oxygen. You have to have that, otherwise the economy is not performing. So if you have a good proposal, but you are competing with these two needs, we'll weigh towards this because of the impact on laying a foundation and addressing the current challenges.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, that's obviously very, very interesting. Now, one of the things that we've also noted is that adoption of NAPSA contributors is obviously very, very key. When you look ahead, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges and opportunities for NAPSA over the next 5 to 10 years? And I would also be keen to find out how much is technology going to play in that, and how do you see the growth of the subscriber base improving?
I think the challenge we're going to get is from two perspectives. How do we fulfill the first part of the mandate, which says it's a basic coverage for all? We need to go out. Right now, I can safely say we've done a very good job in the formal sector.
Correct.
But everyone knows the informal sector tends to be much larger than the formal sector. So the monies there might not be, to people's perception, a gross large number of people may not be earning the top end, but it's a collective that is important to us, and also that people are covered on the scheme. So it's to devise some of the challenges. That's an opportunity. The fact that we have an informal sector that is thriving, but it's not covered, that is a growth area for us.
Right.
But the challenge is, how do you design, or how do you get them to give them a benefit that responds to their needs? Because the main scheme benefits do not address some of the issues that are found in the informal sector. They are more for people in the formal business. The requirements of what attracts an informal sector person to a scheme might not yet be in a list of benefits that we have. So the key is to innovate, create products that actually answer or respond to the needs of the informal sector. Then we can entice them to come on board. Insisting on enforcing the law does not work anymore.
Right.
You just need to be creative. People need to feel you are responding to them. There's something you are offering them in return, and then we can bring them on. So that's both a challenge and an opportunity. But with all this technology, the key is for us again to kick in our innovation and look at how do people consume, or what's the value chain in the financial sector. How do people make money, transmit it, pay for it, and do that? And then find a point where we insert ourselves that this is the most convenient way of actually making members contribute to the scheme without the hardship of waiting for maybe end of the month and then submitting returns and all sorts of things.
Right.
So that's the kind of innovation we're looking at. That's where technology comes in. But another challenge is, since the partial withdrawal, people have become very conscious or very aware, and they've come to understand their NAPSA account.
Okay.
This now is putting pressure on us to make sure that at all times that NAPSA account is in a stage where there are no arguments with the owners. So the service as well kicks in now. Everyone will be expecting service that is as and when you need it, because we are creating, or we are changing the mindset of people and say this is not an account that you forget about till you're about to retire. You need to get involved on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, to understand how much money you actually have with NAPSA. So giving them the easiest way of accessing services, self-service, that now becomes again a key issue, a key challenge for us. But that's the only way we go, because we cannot have a 1-on-1 or 1-to-10 ratio. The service won't be as effective. So most of the services, we want to migrate them to self-service, and only remain with those that may be a little bit of a challenge to deal with. The other challenge we have is basically one of the issues that we don't speak about enough, the national ID. if we can get the national ID to be the basis of financial transactions, then it makes it much easier for everyone, even for all institutions, financial sector, government, ourselves, ZRI. It makes it very easy for all of us to make sure we can uniquely identify you and therefore uniquely profile you and give you the services that you need. As it is now, we have a lot of weaknesses in our national citizen register.
Oh, but what does that mean for the social security number? I thought that was what we're aiming for.
Yes.
The uniqueness. Are you asking for replacement or just enhancement?
No. It's just because it's anchored on a national ID.
Okay.
So if there's an error in the national ID, whatever follows later is a problem. For example, we have about 8,000 people who are trying to claim their partial withdrawal. And we realize that they have duplicate NRCs.
Oh dear.
So we have to work around with the National Registration Office for them to confirm who is the legitimate owner, and that also offers them an opportunity to correct the duplication. The good thing is we are working with them hand in hand to deal with issuing of new numbers and also correcting those that are duplicate. But that's an anchor for anything. I don't know if Mwelwa, you've heard of what is called ID for development. It's anchored on national identification. I should be identified uniquely.
Correct.
And my profile should reflect my economic, financial, everything about me on that profile.
Yes.
That way then you can cater for people much better. For public service delivery, it's even key. You need to know where our citizens are sitting with what kind of economic profile, and then the interventions are easier to design. So that's one challenge, but I think we'll be fixing it with the biometric registration that the government has started. Once we complete that process, we can tick one box, and now we know where to find people. Now, you saw again that when we're doing the partial withdrawal, we're trying to link the social security number,
correct,
the MNO, and the bank. That's all trying to confirm that you are actually the same person.
That is,
now, when you have a unique identifier, we would not need to go through that process because everyone will be using the same, and there's no transposition of names because you are actually reading from the same database. So if I'm called Muyangwa Muyangwa at NAPSA, I'll be called Muyangwa Muyangwa at the bank, I'll be called Muyangwa Muyangwa at ZRI as a taxpayer. That way it solves a lot of our problems. And then we can now begin looking at a more collective level to stop addressing some of the needs in a siloed manner. Then we can now have a cross-cutting platform on which we can now identify our people and be able to serve them better. So for us, that's the other challenge. But the biggest is where we're saying we've set ourselves a target to saying we should be paying benefits in 0 days. Right now we are taking about, for most of them that are manual, will take about 15, 8 days, 7. If it's a very complicated one like Survivor, it's much longer. But what we want to do is to make sure that irrespective of which, especially those that are known, my retirement is known because NAPSA has my age. So they can tell when I'm reaching retirement age. They should be able to be ready to prepare for me and pay me without even needing you to initiate a transaction. So that challenge of 0 days requires a lot of technological usage, and we are looking at all sorts of means to make sure that we can deliver that in the shortest possible time. But from a fund size perspective, we also realize that we need to be impactful in the economy. 3.5 billion looks like it's a lot of money right now, but that's because our economy is small. We need to find a way of capturing, growing with the economy at the same time or same rate, that by the time we are talking about 10 years, the average or the smallest that NAPSA will ever be in dollar terms will be 10 billion. In the kwacha terms, we are targeting 2026, we want to reach 100 billion kwacha. And then make sure that the dollar amount, whether exchange rate moves whichever direction, in real terms we're hovering around the 10 billion mark. That we feel it's going to allow us more impact. We'll be able to invest in many sectors that require assistance, financial assistance, and therefore able to kickstart the economy more. We are sitting at a very we are still in a luxury mode as NAPSA, if I may put it that way. In that we have 1 million subscribers, and we have only got 22,000 pensioners.
Yeah.
These 1 million can cover the pension bill in 1 month. But what we are looking at is, as this population is aging, more people graduate and become pensioners.
Correct.
We need to prepare for that stage. The way you prepare for that stage is reinforce the coverage, more people coming in, create more products, and then you are able to cover the other side. But that's key to us. So we have a luxury right now, but that luxury will slowly fade away as we go towards 2034. If we don't do anything about mobilizing more members, we'll find ourselves in a situation where we might be needing to draw on investment returns to start making payment to beneficiaries. At the moment, that's not so much a requirement.
Okay, all right. Now, obviously, recently, NAPSA has been in the news, regarding the decision around a Society Business Park. Are you able to shed some light and what the thought process was and the impact and key next steps around this particular investment?
Yeah. So, as most people would know, those who were born in the 70s, 80s, they would know that building, the main tower, used to be owned by Zambia National Building Society. At one stage, they wanted to develop that area, their property in that area. They approached NAPSA, and we agreed on an investment vehicle through which the development was going to happen. But after a few years, it was decided Zambia National Building Society wanted to pull out, and then we went in and actually bought the property of Zambia National Building Society, and then expanded the retail mall, developed an office block, and a parkade. Now, these are four parts of one structure. The old structure is obviously the hotel, plus a bit of the retail mall. The other two are actually new structures. That's the parkade and the office block.
Right.
So I think that was commissioned about 2017. In 2019, we had a failure on one of the columns. That required us to evacuate people from there.
This is in the new structure.
On the new structure,
okay.
Not on the old structure. Okay. The old structure is basically intact.
Okay.
So we had to move people away from those. That included our own staff and tenants who were in the office block side. So from 2019, the office block has not been occupied.
Okay.
Now, if we go back to the issue of creating a return for the members, that's a loss that needs to be curtailed.
Correct.
So the question everyone was asking themselves, okay, why are we letting this to happen, to prolong? We know it's bleeding us money. We need to curtail this and make sure that we sort out this problem so that the payback period, although now it's well extended, but at least the scheme still makes its return on investment. So what happened was after the failure, an independent party was requested to do an assessment, and they gave us a report which was not very good. It shows that yes, there were structural weaknesses especially on the new construction side. Now, that triggered a remedial program. So we went back to the contractors, shared the report with them, and they went and did some remedial works. But during that period, the EIZ, and thanks to them, they did an independent assessment as per their mandate, and came back to us and said, whatever they found, the first the consultant found, we're confirming you have a problem in your structure.
Okay.
Your columns are weak. The usage, the material used is not the correct material, and this is proving to be a threat for continued occupants. That went through a bit of debate here and there, with people not agreeing, and the engineers themselves not actually agreeing on one point, that this means X or Y.
Yes.
Let's say the people in finance, it's better if the return is positive. It's
exactly.
Positive. There's no other way you can look at it.
It's still two.
Straight.
Absolutely.
So we now thought, okay, we gave an opportunity to the developers, the contractors, to do their own assessment and give us a report. They came back. They said everything is okay. But our own staff in the projects team, who are engineers, quantity surveyors, architects, did not agree with that report. Said it's not possible.
Right.
So we went again and hired a third consultant. So 2 were hired by NAPSA, 1 is FIZ. So this consultant was a joint venture between a Zambian company and an Indian company. They started in November 2023. They gave us a report in July 2024. Now this time it covered everything, including the hotel tower.
Okay.
And because previously we left out the hotel tower, it was only dealing with the new development.
Right. Right.
This time we did a very comprehensive assessment. They gave us a report. They basically, for the parkade and the office block, they confirmed the first 2 reports, the AIZ report and the area report of the consultant that was hired by NAPSA.
Okay.
So at that stage now a decision needs to be made. Remember now it's from 2019
Correct.
to 2024, the office block is not generating revenues for NAPSA.
Right. It's almost 5 years of losses.
5 years of losses. Basically, it will be, I don't know if in legal terms I can use those, it's treasonous to let it continue. Someone has to make a decision to stop it because it's affecting the members. At that point, we make a decision, shut it down, correct whatever needs to be corrected, and then bring it back so that it begins to generate revenue. Now, there's a lot of issues we'll say about why are you shutting down the hotel as well and the retail mall. People have to understand that they have a conjoined structure. You cannot assure someone that if this one fails, it's not going to affect the other people.
Right.
So it's a precautionary measure meant to save lives. Right now, people we are also worried about the financial aspect. But imagine if people died. The consequences will be too heavy for everyone, especially those of us who are there now, who know the ills that are with the structure, but did not take any action. So we needed to take action, 1, to prevent loss of life, 2, to make sure that the scheme starts recovering its money.
Right.
Now, at that point, the decision to shut down is made. Of course, there's a lot of comment from people about the manner in which we conducted it. We didn't want to create information gaps. So if you look at what we did, the press briefing, the engagement with tenants, were all done on the same day. As this meeting is ending, the press briefing was the last thing to happen.
Right.
Just to make sure that information, the correct information, is passed on to the people, and not to allow people to misinterpret or to put in their own interpretation of what could have happened.
Correct.
But we also recognize that we are dealing with people's lives here. Those are livelihoods. Some people earn their living just by being our tenants.
Correct.
So there's need to look at how best we can support them. So all those who had advance payments, we'll refund them. We'll also give them 6 months in lieu of rent.
Okay.
We have gone to where we are assisting them to look for alternative locations,
Oh, okay.
including our own mall, Levy.
Okay.
So some of them will be moving into Levy. Those who feel that their business can thrive in Levy, they'll move into Levy. There are other engagements where we are basically talking to the tenants on how best to deal with it. We gave them 10 days. That 10 days is to say how urgent or to show how critical the situation is.
Correct.
Because in the words of the Indian guys who did the consultants, you were playing with fate. You are beginning to dice, to play, to bet with people's lives, because anything can happen. It does not tell you it's happening tomorrow. It does not tell you it's happening after 1 year. But lo and behold, should it happen, you have a major catastrophe on your hands. Now, we also understand that that's not the only property we have. Reputational issues are key here.
Correct.
So if should anything happen to Society Business Park, it might affect the uptake of our other facilities where we have similar. We have 4 hotels in Zambia. We have 2 business parks, plus Society at 3. So that we cannot risk that, because if anything happens to that part, all the return in the hospitality industry just crashes. So we have to save it, to save the people, save the scheme. The intention going forward is we'll get an expert, another one, to come and do two things for us. Is it to demolish or to remedy, to reinforce? If it is, which part? And what is the cost? So if the cost turns out to be equal to putting up a new facility, would rather put up a new facility. It gives everyone confidence. The tenants, as they come back, by the way, we have agreed that the tenants that are there now will have the first right of refusal when it's done.
Okay.
To go back to the very shops that they occupied and pick it up from there. Okay. But the decision we have to make is, do we demolish, do we reinforce, depending on what is salvageable. Okay. The indications are that the parkade may not be salvageable, and the office block, they are too much intertwined and they are sitting on the same base. They may not be, but that's a decision we'll get from another expert that we're in the process of recruiting. So just to assure members and others that this decision, painful as it is, was made in the best interest of saving people's lives and also ensuring that the scheme stops bleeding money out of that investment.
Absolutely. DG, thank you so much for sitting down with us, and we do look forward to engaging with you, in future to get more insights from the biggest pension house in Zambia.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure making a debut on Financial Insights.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you here again.
Thank you very much, man.
There you have it. You've heard for yourselves from the DG of NAPSA. Stay tuned for more insights on all our platforms, from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Prime TV channel, which airs our Prime TV show that airs every Friday. This has been Mwelwa Kenneth Chibesakunda, your host for this episode. Get to know.